Hello, and welcome to the Beyond B2B Marketing podcast. I'm Lee Oden, your host, CEO of Top Rank Marketing, and today we're talking with an award-winning, multi-talented B2B marketing leader. With a decade of experience in adtech, she's grown her global marketing team from 10 to 50 people in just a few years as VP of Marketing at StackAdapt. Of course, I'm talking about Christiana Marouchos. Welcome, Christiana.
Hi, Lee. Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to see you. It's great to meet you. I've heard about you. My team at Top Rank, of course, has had the privilege of working with some folks on your team over the last couple of years or so. Heard lots of great things. Hopefully, it's been a great partnership. So let's start by having you share a little bit about StackAdapt and about your role as VP of Marketing there.
Awesome. Yeah. So StackAdapt is an AI-powered marketing platform. We connect brand and performance marketing across programmatic and owned media channels like email. I lead the team responsible for the brand, the branding, and communications globally. My focus is on how StackAdapt shows up in the world. So through our brand identity, our SEO, of course, our messaging, and any presence that comes through on any touch point across the marketing funnel. We work really closely with our global marketing team as well on all facets of digital marketing, events, product marketing, so many other areas. So my main focus is really on ensuring consistency, clarity, and resonating with the market globally and positioning StackAdapt at that intersection of adtech and martech.
Wow, that's a big job. A lot of pressure, right? And just like there's a lot of pressure for performance on marketing in general, I think it feels like it's greater than ever in the current situation that we're in. And since you've grown your team so fast, right? I mean, in about 3 years or so, up to 50 people, I'm just kind of curious about, with that rate of growth and the pressures for performance, how are you able to ensure, quality and creativity levels during that time, during that growth rate?
Yeah, I mean, I've been at StackAdapt for quite a few years, and we've seen growth across the company. So I think what we're doing within the marketing team is very similar to what we're seeing across the board. And what's made us really successful is preserving what makes our brand special. We're really authentic in the way that we present ourselves. We really value innovation and bold creativity. And so building all of the teams across the company, but especially the marketing team on that foundation of really strong brand guidelines, our storytelling standards, and that internal alignment makes it really easily to just maintain that quality as we continue to grow, as we continue to innovate. And it actually gives us room to continue to get new ideas and break into the market with new innovation that others haven't seen or done before. So I think that's what has allowed us to push forward, maintain that momentum, and also keep growing.
Well, it seems like maintaining those quality creativity levels are a function as much of the leadership and vision direction as they are on the talent of your own people,
Yeah.
So speaking of creativity, I'm kind of curious. Let's take a step back, a little bit. As it relates to creativity, I'm just kind of curious what kind of changes you're seeing in terms of the importance of creativity in B2B marketing.
I mean, I don't think it's an option really anymore. It's something that is not we could be creative and we'll probably figure it out as we go. You need to have an element of creativity in order to differentiate yourself, especially in B2B marketing, because it all starts to sound the same. So there's so much noise. Tech is very busy. If you look at some of those martech or tool maps that exist, they've gone from
Scott's
20 partners to 120, 200 partners. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So in order to differentiate yourselves, in order to actually get a message out about a really complex product that brings something unique to the market, you need to be creative and you need to find ways to speak creatively on how you're solving marketing challenges on the day-to-day.
Yeah, for sure. I read as I was doing my homework, and you had this great award, Chief Marketer's Top Women in Marketing Award. And in the bio there, you mentioned, the development of the resource hub, right? So you've got blog posts and webinars, on-demand webinars, podcasts, and research guides and things like that. I'm just kind of curious, okay, so here we are today in this sort of AI centric world. I could call it digital first and AI led, it seems. What's the role of content marketing for us now going forward?
I think content marketing plays a really important part of that story because as smart and as efficient AI can be, it's typically regurgitating existing thought. It's not coming up with unique perspectives necessarily or unique views or content. So there needs to be something feeding the system. So content marketing is important because that's where the unique opportunity to generate innovative thinking, forward-looking perspectives is really, really prominent. So in our content marketing efforts and the work that we're doing, we're focusing on unique angles, points in the market that others are not talking about. There could be a connection to, of course, high performing keywords and keywords that are important to capitalize on. And there's no doubt about it. But how do you talk about that in a way that will resonate with the audience and is different enough to get their attention and something that an AI system couldn't necessarily create without you?
Yeah, that the role, it comes back to, the content marketing is a platform for the human aspect of it, right? And you hear narratives now, humanizing B2B brands and the role of creativity, the role of differentiation, storytelling, those sorts of things. And obviously the mechanism through that is through content. And one particular format that you've committed to, and I love seeing that your CEO is involved, is with the podcast, AI advertising podcast. And I'm just kind of, are you, so what, I think it's on season or episode 6 or something like that. But are you still feeling as optimistic as before about podcasting?
Yeah, I mean, we originally launched our podcast a few years ago,
Yeah.
a different series,
Right.
and
Right.
that focus was really on the industries that our clients work within, innovative solutions and programmatic advertising. And at some point, you notice everybody starts talking about it, and there's a little bit of repetition. We noticed years later now, revisiting the concept of a podcast, there was a gap in the market in talking about AI and advertising. There's lots of podcasts that talk about it in passing or in certain episodes, but no one's actually focused in on AI and advertising, the AI advertising podcast. And there's so much that we want to say about that because AI has been the core of our product since the very beginning. It's not something that we said after year 3, hey, we should probably put an AI system in there and make it more
Right.
effective. No, it's like from the very beginning, we've built the
It's in
platform
the
on AI.
DNA.
Of
Yeah.
course. So we felt it was a natural next step for us to talk about that and to talk about the opportunities and the benefits and where we could go with AI and advertising specifically. So I think that was a natural point of renewal for the podcast, but also an opportunity for us to open up a conversation in a broader sense and drive it forward.
Well, I've done the same thing. I had the podcast previous to Beyond B2B was Elevate B2B.
Right.
And I had taken a little break and came back and really seemed like there was an opportunity. And I think you're right on the money, though, as far as the topic and your a point of differentiation, a platform, an episodic platform that allows you to communicate your unique value prop and all the other things that buyers are wondering about, and you're answering them, and you have key people in your organization answering those questions. I think it's a super smart move on your part.
Thank you.
So let's switch gears and talk about SEO for a
Okay.
second. So many changes, right? And I don't know. I started in SEO in '97, right? So before Google. That's kind of how I got into marketing, and it's just remarkable how things have changed over the last million years. It seems like, but with AI overviews and AI search and all the stuff that got dropped this week alone at Google I/O, I guess it's more important to adapt than ever. However, maybe not everyone feels that way. And I'm just kind of curious what advice you have for other B2B marketing leaders that are trying to decide, do they need to completely overhaul things and stop thinking about clicks and start thinking about, what the AI-driven search experience is going to be like and how they optimize for that? What's your advice?
Well, the advice in 2 words, don't wait. You said it, Lee. It's not on the horizon. It's here. It's actually happening. It's not something that we're trying to prepare for. We need to actually find a way to navigate it today. So embracing that opportunity that AI overviews and all these AI tools bring and AI search brings to your SEO strategy and to your B2B marketing strategy, you should be doing it as soon as possible. There's different ways that you can think about how B2B buyers are exploring the market, how they are looking for content, how they're looking for solutions. It's not as easy now as just hoping that the keyword lands and your results at the top of the search. You've got AI generated tools that are pulling together summaries. And if you're not in that summary, you might get lost and you may get left behind, and you don't want that to happen. So finding ways, whether it's a specific tool that you need to work with or identifying the trends within some of these AI solutions and searches, that's actually going to be the best way for you to get ahead of falling behind in your SEO strategy or B2B marketing
Yeah,
world.
that's great advice. And obviously I love to hear that, there's a sense of urgency. And it makes sense, really. As you look at the Google experience, you just can't count on as much click traffic from high visibility on Google anymore. So, there's a principle that we've been employing for, there's a book I wrote in 2012 called Optimize. And in that book, it introduced the idea of being the best answer wherever customers are looking. And fast forward to today, and it's true, you've got to look at, as you've already suggested, how buyers are interacting with, AI search or wherever it may be, right? And then just make sure you are the best answer. You're that, top of mind source of information that is solving a problem for them.
Yep.
And do that wherever they're looking. And ultimately, that LinkedIn stat, 95% of marketers or buyers are not in market, and only 5% are. So you've got to be top of mind so that you're on that short list, right?
And you want to build that credibility. You want to make sure that when
Yeah.
they see a series of results that come up, they recognize your name to say, "Oh, I remember them. They have good insights. Let me read their result first." That could be something that also trickles into that familiarity as well.
Bingo. Yep, absolutely. So on, our favorite B2B marketing platform or B2B platform, of course, the community at LinkedIn,
Yeah.
you shared a really cool brand video that represented, your expansion into martech. So like, adtech martech integration, right? And which I thought was super cool. So well done on that. I think you said it was like a paper napkin kind of
I have
design
it
that you had.
here. Do you want to see
You
it?
do?
It's
Yeah,
I
sure.
have it stuck to my desk as inspiration for the future. This is what it was to begin with.
That's awesome.
It's here with me every day.
The origin story. Can you talk a little bit about what that video represents?
Yeah. First of all, I'm so proud to say that that video was not created with AI, guaranteed, because one, it started with the drawing, and two, I worked directly with the designer that led that entire motion design out. So that's where that creative thought comes in, where we probably could have asked AI to create something. I don't know what that result would have looked like, but we definitely were able to maintain that control and build that connection and reflection of our belief in storytelling. We were able to tell our story. We took a few simple shapes. We wanted to be really bold, very simple, but very creative, and actually make it seem like something that is technologically driven, but connected to the human itself and also to the buyer and the marketer that's going to be connecting with these tools. So I think it was really a moment of opportunity for us, and it helped us to underscore how our brand is maturing, reflect the sophistication of our platform, but also the simplicity. And I don't mean simple in a bad way. I mean
Right.
super simple in getting you exactly what you need to get things done. And that's what that video represented, and that's the story that it told. So I'm really happy with the end results. I think that we captured that essence of our brand really well, and we were able to tell that story in a really
Well, it's great. You
visually
know what?
appealing way.
For sure. One of the most difficult things you can do is translate a very complex idea into something simple, right? It's not an easy thing to do, and you did it. And I'll make sure we link to it, of course, in the notes. So speaking of LinkedIn, I noticed, and it was hard not to, this extensive sponsorship that StackAdapt did with LinkedIn, and especially with the folks at LinkedIn Marketing Solutions, who we also happen to work with, but on team member content, right? It was like I was in awe to be honest, of anyone who was able to do that. And it was really cool because here you have all this useful content coming from these experienced marketers, and it's sponsored by StackAdapt. I'm just kind of curious, how did that work for you? Like, was that effective? Was it interesting? What were your take? What's
I
your
think
take
all of
on?
the above. The reason why we found a really unique opportunity to work with LinkedIn, of course, they are, like you said, one of the favorite B2B platforms, but what they're doing is very similar to what we are doing. The only difference is they're operating within the LinkedIn ecosystem, and we're operating in a broader ecosystem outside of that. So there was a natural tendency to see parallel and to partner together on that. So we weren't just showing up alongside them. We were actually co-creating a lot of those conversations. And I think that that ability to do that allowed us to be, again, capture a really unique side of the conversation and bring some insight that perhaps hasn't really been exposed in a way where it resonates with other marketers, because we are the marketers just as much as they are the marketers, and we're talking together about a joint experience in B2B marketing. That is
Wow,
powerful.
it is, and I loved it. I love seeing that. I love that your explanation as well. And it's actually something that that we're also exploring for our own company and partnerships and co-marketing and things like that. Because there are a lot of, and I know it's a cliche word, synergies, but there really are.
Yeah.
There's some alignment that exists, and when you have points of view and shared audiences and mutual value, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the 360-degree win situation. So thank you for sharing that. So I mentioned before, like we're in this interesting economic and business environment, to say the least. And it's created some challenges, some uncertainty, but also pressure on marketers to do more with less. What advice can you share with other marketing leaders that are trying to decide on what their marketing investments should be in times like these?
I think there is a common thread that's drawn between doing more with less and spending less money to do more. And I don't think it's necessarily just about budget efficiency. It's actually mostly about impact efficiency. You could probably spend the same amount of money, but get a lot better of a return or better impact in the market if you're doing things in a little bit of a different way. So, for example, if you're actually unifying that connection between brand and performance, breaking down those silos and leveraging the right tools together to amplify every dollar, you're going to have a much bigger return and a much better a higher performing outcome that is actually going to drive your business forward. So I don't necessarily think people need to think, okay, where can I cut costs, but rather, where can I maximize efficiency of the dollars I'm already spending? So we've seen success by balancing creative investment with performance accountability, making sure that there's the right connection points between obviously driving performance marketing, but at some point you need to fuel that. So you need some of that brand marketing in there in order to continue to allow performance marketing to operate. So finding tools that efficiently pull those two pieces together and can drive impact is probably where you're going to see the most result doing more with less.
Excellent advice. Thank you. So you've got, as I mentioned, over 10 years experience in ad tech, and I'm just kind of curious in that time, and I know you have more experience in that in the marketing field, I know, but, and with your time with StackAdapt and AI being part of the DNA of the company and the solution, what are some of the biggest, impacts you've seen from AI so far, just in the last year or so?
I think that it comes down to optimization. So we talked about creative thought needing some of that human input. And I think that AI can play a role on concepting. It can help you to spark an idea, definitely. And that's where, you get some of that momentum going and you can start to build that creative thought. But where it really shines is building that optimization piece. So you give it the inputs that you know are effective or on brand or relatable to your audience, and then it can spit out 20 different variations of coffee, or it can put together 100 different combinations of headline, subcopy, image for a unique ad creative. That's where AI is really having a major impact, because it's allowing you to work so quickly at something that might have taken months of A/B testing, a series of people reviewing content over and over again. And now you just click of a button, everything's available to me, run it for even a shorter amount of time, optimize accordingly, and you have a campaign that probably would have previously taken someone weeks or months and done in a week because you've done all the steps combined into one. So I think that the biggest impact on ad tech specifically is that ability to just replicate, recreate, optimize without waiting. There's no wait time on an AI.
That's great. And, you echo a sentiment shared by Ty Heath from B2B Institute at LinkedIn. And she asked a similar question, and her response was about the efficiency, the optimization aspect of it is really what's in front of us right now, to see great impact. Obviously, StackAdapt is, so as I was, people become familiar with what as a platform that it can do in terms of bringing value, and this convergence of martech and adtech and the integration, programmatic and channels like email, right? Like, what kind of companies are you seeing attracted to using a self-serve programmatic, ad platform like StackAdapt?
I think it varies pretty broadly. Even the companies that we're working with, they range from, mid-market independent agency type shops to even larger enterprise holding companies that see value in a high-performing tool like StackAdapt for their programmatic efforts. What I think is particularly appealing to some of those agencies and even some of those brands who are looking to speed things up is that breakdown of the separation between ad tech and martech and now bringing them together in a single tool. It actually allows you to orchestrate really sophisticated and thoughtful personalized journeys for the buyer and for the customer, which saves them time, reduces the strain on the different tools, and also helps to propel them forward against some of the competitors that they're probably up against in the market. So the ones that are looking for those efficiencies, like we mentioned, where how can AI help me work faster? How can I be more efficient with my impact? Not necessarily cutting my budget, but allowing it to stretch a lot farther. Those are the ones that are thinking light years ahead in a sense and saying, I need a tool that can do everything for me. I don't want to log into 10 platforms. I just want one. And those are the ones that are actually finding ways to maybe spend the same amount of money but drive further impact, or maybe a little bit more, but getting a multiplier effect. So I find a lot of the companies that we work with that are really excited about our marketing technology solutions are the ones that have been asking from the very beginning of like, how can I do things differently? What's new in the space? What kind of innovation is going to help me get ahead? So they're thinking about technology first.
So AI plays a big part of the AI engine, as it were, and how customers are. I mean, how StackAdapt is differentiated, I think, at some level, because it is built in the DNA of the product itself. And just what more specifically is the bearing on the AI capability and the ability for the platform to drive performance for folks who want to do programmatic?
I think the main piece that we've always been really focused on, and I'm speaking about this from a marketing perspective, so if any engineers are listening, forgive me for the wrong use of terms. But the AI itself is actually taking all the inputs that are coming from all the advertisers and learning. That's what AI systems do. They learn from what is given to them. They can't build something out of nothing. So as they continue to run campaigns, we're optimizing against bidding, against pacing, placement, creative, everything that's being fed into the system. It becomes smarter. It starts to put out solutions that are more in line with the direction the advertiser wants to go. So it's not just about, building an automation, because an automation will repeat the same thing over and over again. It's actually feeding that intelligence that goes into each campaign. And that's what will really drive performance. And I know our data science team, our engineering team has been constantly iterating on this, and we get regular updates on here's how our AI has become smarter today, because every single day, every moment, it is learning to do more. So from a very broad sense, I think that that's what helps to drive the future of the tool, as well as helping to inform it to get smarter to drive things forward.
So is it true to say that the longer, obviously, your business is serving clients that are inputting data and executing, and the longer maybe even any individual client is using your platform, the smarter the system becomes?
And the smarter it becomes for that specific client.
Yeah.
Because if you're fresh even if you're using any sort of AI tool, your first input, it's probably going to give you something that's 50% good. And by the 10th input, it becomes exponentially better. And all of a sudden it learns how you talk, it learns how you write, it learns the kind of nuances in your choice of words, and it starts to sound like you. And I don't mean to make that in a way where it's going to replace you in any way, but that's what
Right.
AI tools do. The same goes for advertising. The first campaign, it's going to take some time for you to put manual inputs to say, this is the direction I want to go, and here's my audience set. These are the creatives that I want to try. And as it learns of which ones are actually working well, it'll start to optimize accordingly. So there's less manual effort down the road because it knows exactly what's going to work well for you and what the trends are going forward. So I think it operates by the same method, I suppose, is the right word.
Yeah, and I love that's one of the things I've loved about the work that how I've been using AI and how we're trying to implement AI usage in our own organization is that cumulative or exponential growth in knowledge and actionable knowledge, and so the smarter also there's another aspect to it is I like to say crap in, crap out, like if you're not very good at prompting, you're not going to get very good outputs. If you're a mediocre marketer, you really don't recognize excellence necessarily. And so you have to know what you're looking for. So when you have a system though, that's iteratively or cumulatively learning, and you have a system then that is set up to optimize, right? That's powerful. That's pretty awesome. So, you've been in marketing for a while, and and obviously, no great marketer functions in a vacuum. They have their own inputs, as it were, right? And I'm just kind of curious if there are individuals or entities that you follow and draw inspiration from as it relates to B2B marketing.
I don't think I could think of a specific individual off the top of my head, but there are a few bodies that I find have individuals that are contributing that have always brought great insight. For example, the IAB B2B Marketing Council, there's a lot of folks that are a part of that bring lots of interesting insights to the table. I know there's a few folks from the StackAdapt marketing team as well that are part of that. So I see a lot of variation in opinion and inspiration they bring to the table. LinkedIn B2B Institute, also a lot of fresh thinking that comes through there. So I typically will check on those two as broad starting points. But really, I'm drawn to especially marketing leaders, but marketing folks who really merge that creativity with operating excellence. You can only say so much as a formula. You need to have some creative thinking in there, and it needs to be unique, and it needs to be something that not everybody else is saying. So I'm drawn to those sorts of storytelling opportunities and how people build that strategy that's human and not just technical.
Yeah, there's a fun little, and I'll link to those resources in the notes. There's a fun little equation I like to use to kind of articulate that H plus AI equals ROI, in that, it's sort of bringing together of, that's always what it's going to be, and maybe our measures are different. Our proportions might change over time, but ultimately it's that combination of the human and the technology. I'm curious, what is it that keeps you inspired or motivated in your career? I mean, this is a similar question, I suppose, but, more specific, like, are there, is there a great book you read, or are there people, in your own organization or elsewhere, even philosophies about how you turn chaos into order, chaos into productivity? Not that you have a lot of chaos, but as a marketer, it kind of goes with the territory.
It comes hand in hand, yeah. I mean, there's so many things that I can think of that would be put together to tell you how I'm motivated and inspired. I am really inspired by people that think differently. And I don't mean like we just approach a problem differently. The reason why I've been at StackAdapt for so long is because the co-founders are so incredibly talented, and they're so incredibly motivated by a future vision that I don't think any of us necessarily could have thought of. So having their views on where the market's going, where there is opportunity, where there's a gap, and thinking through the problem solving of how we're going to build the thing for that has always inspired me. And then the people that I've encountered in my career, whether it was here or at previous companies or through the partnerships that we've built, I'm typically looking for opportunities for reflection. And that's what drives me forward in a lot of ways. If you you move through life with blinders on, you probably won't get to see an additional point of view or look back at something you've done to see how you could have done better. So even when I am doing any sort of personal reflection or work reflection, I'm always thinking about what did that person say or what did that person do? And how does that resonate with me, or how might I have done it differently? And that's that continuous growth that keeps me thinking about, okay, how can we be different? How can we talk about it differently? How are we entering the market differently? What opportunities exist out there? What point of view exists that I haven't even thought of? Who do I need to talk to get some inspiration from that? So I'm really motivated by that inspiring, forward-thinking view, but I need to stay grounded in that point of reflection in order to feel like we can actually make some progress.
That your level of emotional intelligence is very high, and your ability to, your self-awareness and your empathy for even yourself and your own journey is a very, very powerful thing, because a lot of people don't have that. And so you have this, it sounds like you've got this ability to self-optimize, like you're aspirationally wanting to improve, continuous improvement. And, I don't know how a person would be as successful or in a position like you are without that. Right. So I love that you shared that.
Thank you. And you kind of made me sound like AI, but I'm not offended by it. I liked it. Self-optimizing.
Oh, well, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing with StackAdapt?
Most of the things that I'm contributing to are going on the StackAdapt website on our resources section. So a lot of either what I've written or I've contributed to is in there. LinkedIn, I share a lot of what the company's doing, a lot of insights that come from what we're doing, a lot of the creative things that we're building. There's so many that we have in the works, so it's really exciting. So I would say those two spots are probably best.
Great. Yeah, please keep it up, especially on LinkedIn, because it's such, obviously it's a place to be if you're in B2B, but increasingly interesting storytelling. I heard it characterized as, if you're a senior marketing leader at a company with an offering like yours, being able to diary, so to speak, like here's what's going on, here's what's working. That kind of thing is really popping and is really well received algorithmically and especially by people. So please keep up what you're doing there.
Doing well.
This has been a great conversation. I appreciate it. It's so wonderful to meet you, at least virtually here.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure I link to these things in the notes. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lee. Really, really enjoyed our conversation.
I want to thank you for tuning in or watching the Beyond B2B Marketing podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss our next guest. And remember, there's no better time than now than to break free of boring B2B.